Hello everyone, welcome back to the James A channel. Another missing episodes video. Last week I did an update regarding Film is Fabulous and several episodes which they referred to being in existence, being held by private collectors. Check that one out if you haven't seen already. This is going to be a bit of a follow-up video to that. And I'm also just going to be doing a top 10 most wanted missing episodes because it's a bit of fun. Now, the update itself comes from a really good podcast, Doctor Who, the Missing Episodes podcast, run by Tim. He conducted an interview on, I think, Friday or Saturday with 3 of the Film is Fabulous members, talking about all kinds of things, but in the latter stages of it, they did talk about Doctor Who. So if you want a full breakdown of that, if you want the full hearing everything what they said about it, then check out the podcast itself and you'll hear some really good insights. But my interpretation of it was that essentially they know a collector. They knew him about sometime in 2023, I think they said. And he had one missing episode of Doctor Who. He was in a bit of ill health and they arranged to pick up at least some of his collection, but unfortunately he passed away only about a week ago, I think, and that delayed things. So I think they're now trying to still gain access to that collection, which they did say has at least one. They know of one, and there might be more missing Doctor Who episodes in that. So for the people saying there was going to be 15, 16 episodes found, well, I mean, I don't know. Realistically, that was never going to happen. So for some of us with slightly lower expectations, one being announced as, well, I think fairly pretty close to being recovered is certainly exciting. And for people that are a bit disappointed saying, well, it will be quite a while to wait, I remind you, it's what Tim actually said in the podcast. It was a really good way of looking at it. 99% of the work is done with the episode just existing. That's the hardest bit. Us not being able to see it, well, that's not that much of a problem in the grand scheme of things. Actually finding these episodes in existence is the big that's the thing that matters, right? So 99% of the work is done. We'll get to see these in a matter of time, so it's certainly exciting, but also on a slightly more unfortunate note, there was the Film is Fabulous were also saying that they received threats of physical violence and that the police, I think, may have got involved. Now, I think most Doctor Who fans are perfectly fine, will be patient, respectful, but yeah, so the people that were doing stuff like that, issuing threats of violence, it's disgraceful. Hopefully it's no one watching this video, I'm sure you guys are all great, but if that was one of you, I'd really just invite you to just think about, is what you're doing helping anyone in any way? Probably not, so please, everyone, be nice to them, be nice to each other. Missing episodes, it is a tantalising subject, so some people are gonna let the emotions maybe get to them, and they'll do irrational things like making threats. So yeah, these episodes, look, we've been waiting over 12 years. Anything found within the next month or year, it's not that long to wait in the grand scheme of things. So that is my take on it. But yeah, that's pretty much the missing episodes update. Not a huge one, but just thought for anyone who wasn't aware, I'd give you a quick update on the facts. It's looking good for the future, but yeah, we might just have to be patient for now. So yeah, we're going to get into my ranking. I've done a top 10. To make it interesting, I've said to myself that I can't pick more than one from a single story. Also, I'm not going to jump on bandwagons. I'm sure things like the Mythmakers episode 4 with the Horse of Destruction and Katarina joining and Vicky leaving, that would be great, I'm sure. But I haven't seen the Mythmakers for a long time. I haven't seen the Invasion or the Ice Warriors for a long time. So I'm going to be basing this off my memory, alright? Not just making basic lists with, oh yeah, these are all the obvious finds. No, this is going to be a bit more personal to me. And speaking of which, if you want to just put your list of most wanted missing episodes, do that now or do it at the end, whatever you want. It'll be really interesting to see and compare, and perhaps one of our most wanted finds will be announced, who knows. So let's get straight into this. My 10th most wanted missing episode is the Macra Terror episode 2. And a large part of that is a story that is very claustrophobic. There's a lot of tension there, And I think episode 2 uh, is arguably, maybe episodes 2 and 3, I think, have the most tension. Episodes 1 and 4 are strong, and it is always good being able to sort of bookend stories, and they make them feel more complete in a way. Celestial Toymaker, being able to watch episode 4 when you finish, suddenly that whole watching experience suddenly feels a lot better. But I think to be more interesting, I will say Macro Terror episode 2 is my most wanted. I think there is brief bits of footage. I know there's some off-air footage from the Macro Terror. I think a lot of that is from episode 1. But yeah, I think episode 2 or potentially 3 would be my 10th most wanted missing episode. Number 9 is the Space Pirates. Yeah, you're going to sigh. But hey, I think it's underrated. I'm going to be going for episode 5. And I think that's mainly because from when I watched it, episode 6 was a little bit of a rushed ending. I thought 5, again, you're firmly in the action. And episode 5 has a fantastic cliffhanger. There's good material with Kevin and Domisigri, who we have no visual record of. And yeah, Kevin, he's the bad guy. We don't have any footage of him. So it'd be really good to see him in action. And I think doing so would improve people's feelings on the story. Being able to actually see the bad guy. A Dalek story probably wouldn't be that popular if you couldn't see the Daleks. I'm not quite saying that Kevin is as threatening or interesting as the Daleks, but the point is that I think something like episode 5, where you're seeing all the characters in action again, you're seeing Kevin at his best, I think that would be really valuable to this. And also, episode 1, you can make an alright recon using bits of episode 2, but from 3 onwards, it's a struggle, and I think episode 5 would give you good material to improve the recon as well. You might think that's a weird way of viewing it, but for me, having a watchable recon is a very important part of being able to visualize and enjoy a story, and I think that is why the Space Pirates struggles, especially because it does not have an animation. So that is number 9, the Space Pirates, episode 5. 8th place, I've put the Smugglers, episode 4. The Smugglers is another underrated one. And to be honest, episode 1 or 4, just one of those would be really good because we get to see the location filming. I've opted for episode 4 because that's where we have the big fight scene, which isn't really done justice with just tally snaps. And to be honest, I don't think the animation would be much better. On a final note, I think The Smugglers was shot with the rest of season 3. And having Hartnell again just before the 10th planet at a time where he was probably a bit more lively, I think would be really valuable. Once you get to the 10th planet, he is good, but obviously, he's not doing too well behind the scenes, and it does kind of show, especially with him being written out of episode 3 of the 10th planet. So, yeah, having him at this late stage of his Doctor Who era, I think would be fantastic. Number 7, I've put Marco Polo episode 4. I'm sure a lot of people will be expecting Marco Polo to have been later down the list, but I think, again, it's not one that I've seen for a while, but it would be stupid not to include Marco Polo somewhere on the list. I've said episode 4, that's the one that doesn't have tally snaps, so it's not the greatest reason, but I think having an episode right in the middle of the story, it might be quite interesting. Again, a lot of people just say episode 1, Roof of the World, or 7, Assassinate Peking, but I think later down the list you'll see quite a lot of bookending episodes. So to go for variety, I've just put episode 4. Number 6, I've put Fury 6, Fury from the Deep, Victoria's last story. An episode that, episode 6 in particular, has quite a strong visual representation already. We've got tally snaps, we've got sensor clips. Maybe, I don't think we have off-air clips, but we certainly have the behind-the-scenes footage of them shooting the invasion of the base, which looks really good, shot in colour as well, I believe. And I think Fury 6, it's an unfortunate one. I think it was either Fury from the Deep, episode 6 or 5, where they found it alongside 4 episodes of the Ice Warriors at Villiers' house, I think in the 80s, and they found the Fury from the Deep, I'm going to say episode 6, they found the can, but it was empty, so it's a bit like, I think, the Moon Base episode 3, which was found in New Zealand, the can was empty, so it's another one of those where it's really unfortunate that maybe we were really close to having it, but someone just nicked the film and left the can. Why they would just take the film and not the can, that will probably be a mystery that will remain unsolved. But I think, yeah, Fury from the Deep is one I would love to have back. And for a six-parter, having the final 25 minutes I think would help a lot, because as you're getting through the story, you'd at least know, well, right at the end, I'll get to see all of the carnage of the finale playing out on screen with the helicopter scenes as well, which I think would be really interesting. I think perhaps the interesting part, the helicopter scenes, I think they use model shots with the location footage, so it might be a bit jarring going between a model and an actual helicopter. But again, I'd like to see that, and even if it looked a bit crappy, it would still be a privilege to even see it at all. Fifth place, it's time to be controversial, but look, 10th Planet 4, I can't put it higher up the list than this. Even this is being generous, in my opinion. It's probably the best represented single 25 minutes that is missing. Some will say Mission to the Unknown because they got the recreation, but if we're looking at actual material from the story, it's incredibly well represented. We've got off-air footage, we've got tally snaps, we've got the regeneration scene at the end. We even have technically the start of the episode, since that's at the end of episode 3. And yeah, look, I think we've all seen 10th Planet 4 so many times that we know what it looks like, what it sounds like. We can already sort of imagine the final scenes playing out. Of course, having any Hartnell prior to that regeneration scene, just seeing if there's much foreshadowing at the start of episode 4, because I don't think there's too much throughout 1 and 3 in my opinion, but maybe at the start of episode 4 you start to see, yeah, this guy, he's deteriorating and soon it's going to be time to regenerate. These are questions that I want to have answers to, but it's not a higher priority than some of the other ones down the list. But yeah, I think being in the top 5 is fair. It's one of the most significant episodes in Doctor Who history, and it would give us a complete Season 4 story, which would, it's kind of crazy that we don't have a complete one. So, yeah, 10th Planet 4 at number 5. Number 4, I've gone for a bit of a controversial one, again, to just show that this is more of a personal thing, and not just going for the basic answers. I'm picking an episode from Evil of the Daleks, but not episode 7. I'm going for Evil of the Daleks, episode 6. And that is based on the fact that when I watched Evil of the Daleks, for some reason episode 6 stood out to me. As a 25-minute episode, I found it really enjoyable, more so than any other. When you notice yourself specifically enjoying a 25-minute episode, I think that's when you realise that there's something about it. And I think it's probably the fact that you get quite a bit of variety. You get the Doctor with the dizzy Daleks, you get stuff in the mansion, but then later in episode 6 is when you then go to Skaro, and then you get the Emperor Dalek, and then there's the cliffhanger. It ends at a really exciting point, but I think episode 6 would be more interesting than 7. We've also got a kind of recreation of that final battle scene at the end with the Daleks, which, yeah, the cutting between the real Dalek props and the models did not look amazing. So episode 7, I'm just not that desperate. I think episode 6 would be more interesting in ways, but I know I'll probably be on my own in thinking that, because I'm aware that episode 7 is one of the most wanted episodes. 3, The Massacre, episode 4, Battle of Doom. Now, The Massacre is a weird one for me, I'll be honest. It's one that I have to pay a lot of attention to understand what's going on. There's been a couple of times where I've watched it, and it's almost like I don't know what to think. If I were to give it a rating out of 10, that would be the one time where I couldn't give a story a rating out of 10, because a story like that with almost no visual representation, so many characters to keep track of, it is incredibly hard to follow if you're not in the right mood for it. So when I have given it my full attention, I've loved it. It's been one of my favourite Hartnell stories. In fact, I'd say probably Daleks Master Plan is a better story, and that might be it. I think it is very near the top for me for the Hartnell stories. It's a I say it's a well-performed story. We can't actually see the performances, but from what we hear, everyone seems to be on top form. I think having Hartnell as the Abbot, I mean, it would be interesting, wouldn't it? I don't know if it was a strong portrayal for him, because the way that he talks a bit like this, it's a bit weird, but yeah, I think having Hartnell as the Abbot would be good. He's only the Abbot in episode 3, really. He's barely in episode 2 and episode 1 as the Abbot. And as I saw someone point out, if you get episodes 1 and 4, then you have all of Hartnell's the First Doctor. So I'm doing half of the work there by taking episode 4, and then we only need episode 1 for all of his portrayal. So, yeah, the massacre, it needs visual representation desperately. But also, episode 4, you get a bit of variety as well, because you get the stuff in Paris. You then have the massacre itself, which I think is just pictures, so it wouldn't be that interesting. But you have Stephen leaving and coming back, and you get Dodo joining. But my favourite bit of all is you get Hartnell's speech. And people will say, yeah, but he sat down in the TARDIS, we have a good idea of what it looks like. I get that. But I think that speech is one that I really want back. It's probably my favourite speech from Hartnell. I prefer it to the one from the Dalek invasion of Earth, simply because I think this one, when he's reminiscing about the companions and maybe he should go back to his home planet, that is far more interesting, especially within the whole context of the show. The Doctor early on talking in such a way, I think would have been fascinating to see at the time. And it would be one of the top Hartnell moments. If we had Massacre 4, it would be the one that you see in compilations alongside the clip from the Dalek invasion of Earth, or stuff from An Unearthly Child. So, another Hartnell clip that would also be in compilations, because it's a great sort of speech from him. Well, you'll see that later down the list. It's a hint for you that Hartnell, I'm not quite done just yet with Hartnell returns. Number 2 is not a Hartnell return, and I know this will be a lot of people's, it will be their number 1, but it's not quite there for me. It's Power of the Daleks, episode 1. That is going to be my second most wanted missing episode. I was tossing up between this and episode 6, because episode 6 you get to see everyone dying, you get to see Troughton saving the day. It would be really good, but I think it's more of a case of episode 6, while the Daleks killing everyone, we pretty much have footage of that in every story from this point onwards, apart from Evil of the Daleks. We know what Daleks killing people looks like, and it's not sound sadistic, but it's great, isn't it? So I'm not going to say episode 6, I'll stick with episode 1, and yeah, I think doing so would mean that we had, if it was found, we'd have every Doctor's first 25 minutes, which is a big milestone in terms of recoveries, if we could tick that off. We've got clips, quite a few clips actually, and tally snaps, and production photos from Power episode 1, but even then, it's a bit like 10th Planet 4. Even with all that visual representation, it's one that we have to see. And I think it would be really interesting seeing how Troughton played the Doctor early on. We don't have much footage of him from his first 2 stories, this and the Highlanders. The Underwater Menace, now that there was the Terry Burnett return, it's a lot better represented. But even then, the first 11 episodes of his era we don't have. So getting the very first one would definitely help out the situation. And yeah, Power of the Daleks, it gets, even if we forget about it being Troughton's first episode, it's a fantastic story, Power of the Daleks, and doesn't have any full episodes existing, so I'd really like something from that. Anything. Again, it's another one like Macroterra, where I think it would have tension as the events progress, as the Daleks integrate more and begin manipulating more people. I think that would be really good. I don't know how much of some of the main cast we get in episode 1. Some of the characters like Lesterson, Jan Lee, Quinn, I want to see them in action. There might not be too much of that in episode 1, but yeah, episode 1, it deserves to be this high up on the list. And finally, number 1 spot, without a doubt for me, you might have guessed by now, it's a Hartnell. It is the Daleks Master Plan, episode 12, Destruction of Time. It's at the very top for me, and I don't think that's going to change. I think the best comparison I can make to it is episode 4 of The Caves Around Jazani, where all the chaos unfolds, where characters die, where it is just an incredible finale. And I think, a bit like Fury from the Deep, episode 6, in a story with so little visual representation, if you could start it knowing that the last 25 minutes is gonna be something you can actually watch, where all that build-up amounts to something that you can tangibly see, I think that would change the viewing experience. I think Daleks Master Plan is already a popular story, but having episode 12, I think, would get it even further up the list. Episode 12, I think, is such an essential episode, you have Sarah Kingdom dying. Is she a companion? Well, I don't think so, because not to go down that rabbit hole, but the people that count her as a companion are not Brit Vion. I think that's where things get a little bit complicated. But anyway, seeing Jean Marsh, more of her, especially after she died, but seeing her characters aging to death, I think would be a fascinating visual. More fascinating to some degree, I think, than Katarina floating through space. I want to know how that was done, but I think Sarah Kingdom's death is a more sci-fi death, and I think that would be really interesting to see amidst all the chaos of the Doctor himself aging, of the Daleks aging to death. I think I like viewing this episode from the perspective as well that perhaps this is where it all starts for the first Doctor's downfall to his regeneration a few stories later. The Savages as well, I know we're not talking about that, but that's another one where you can view it from the events of that story. Maybe that is what sets the chain in motion of Hartnell's deterioration, not in real life, but in the show, leading to his regeneration. So I'm aware that I'll be waffling a lot about this, but that is almost that's because of the fact that this is an episode that means a lot to me. And I can't imagine for the people seeing this at the time how it would have felt after 3 months to finally see the story end in such a brutal way. You get a nice Hartnell speech at the end when he says, "What a waste. What a terrible waste." I think that would be really good. You get Stephen as well. When you listen to the audio, it's incredible. I think Mavic Chen as well, seeing him die, there's so many visuals I want from episode 12. The fact that we don't have tally snaps as well is really gutting. I think if Master Plan had tally snaps, I think that would make it feel a lot more complete. But unfortunately, even with those 3 slices that we have in 2, 5, and 10, it needs that representation. Like a lot of season 3, John Cura, I don't think that he was commissioned to do many tally snaps. I don't think John Wilde liked the idea of paying this guy to take little snippets from a screen, but turns out all these years later they are incredibly valuable, and that is why stories like The Mythmakers, Mission to the Unknown, and of course Master Plan and Massacre and Toymaker, God, there's so many. It really shows that nowadays we deprived. Something like episode 7, I feel like some people would say, I think The Feast of 7 would be another really good find from this story, but at least we have sort of tally snaps taken by Robert Jewell, and we get to see a picture of Hartnell saying Merry Christmas, so that's probably better than nothing in my opinion. I think the biggest shame of all actually is that you think about a lot of these stories that I've mentioned, and individual episodes that I mentioned, so things like Power 1, 10th Planet 4, not that I put it on my list, but Web 3, those are ones that I mentioned, and they have quite a lot of rumour around them, but episode 12 is one that you never really hear rumoured, and I think that is a shame. And again, Master Plan, it got rejected for overseas sales, so there won't be many prints of that were ever made. And, you know, it's kind of a miracle that we even have episodes 2, 5, and 10, which, if you're going to get 3 episodes, maybe particularly episode 10 isn't the strongest, but you're getting a good spread across that story. Maybe getting, like, episode 1, 4, and 12 would have been the best selection, something like that, but, yeah. The fact that episode 12 is not rumoured much, despite how popular it is, I think that probably is the biggest indicator that it's not got a great chance of being found. But anything is possible. On the topic of rumours with Master Plan, I've sort of looked online and seen what ones are rumoured, and often it is episodes 1, 3, 4, 9, and 11, and we have episodes 2, 5, and 10. So the only episodes from the Daleks Master Plan that we don't hear rumoured much is episode 6, 8, and 12, and also Feast of 7, but no one really thinks that's going to be found because it was never offered for overseas sale and almost certainly would have been wiped. But yeah, this is a lot of waffle. Missing episodes is a very easy area to talk on and on about, simply because it is such a fascinating side of Doctor Who's history. So if you enjoyed this and made it to the end, thank you for watching. Put down below your list of missing episodes. Like I said, with The Film is Fabulous, update. It sounds positive. It sounds like there will be at least one episode returning fairly soon. Although soon does not mean a few days or a few weeks. It could be a few months. Just be prepared for that, guys. We've got to be patient, and definitely do not make threats of violence to the Film is Fabulous team, or anyone for that matter. It's not going to help matters. It will probably make them worse. And it's probably part of why collectors are a bit reluctant to come out and hand out films when there's people busy online and in person making stupid threats of violence. So that's what I'm going to leave you with. That was my top 10. Do you think I'm crazy for having things like the Space Pirates in there and the Macro Terror? Do you think I'm crazy for putting the 10th Planet Episode 4 at 5th place? Well, if you do, good for you. Let me know. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, any of that stuff helps out the channel, and I will see you later.